In school, we're always taught to answer the 5 questions if you're going to tell a story. When, what, why, where, and how. Without the how, it's nothing more than a statement without context. Sometimes situations occur where we don't want to know how, but we always want to know why. Things happen every day where all 5 of those questions are answered. Tragedies. But in some circumstances, the why is left out, leaving it no more than a complete mystery. Mysteries like this next story. This story begins in Cass County, Atlanta, Texas to be exact. It's a small town with a small population. There's 5,409 people. Outside of farming, forestry, oil, or a little tourism, Cass County isn't known for a lot. To the common people, it's just a rural area. But for those who live there, it's called home. January 8th, 2013. The world would make way for ZI'ARIEL Oliver. She would be born to her mother, Shamanique, who had her first child at the age of 16. ZI'ARIEL was just like any other girl her age. She enjoyed singing, dancing, and playing with friends. By the end of the year, ZI'ARIEL would have another little sister, Amaya Hughes, who would be born on December 23rd of 2013. And by October 28th of 2016, another young girl would be born into this world, Tamari Oliver. By the year of 2022, ZI'ARIEL would be 9 years old, Amaya would be 8, and Tamari would be 5. They would be raised alongside 3 other siblings, with a total of 6 children in all. Their mother, Shamanique, would do the best she could to raise her children. She began working at the age of 16, and she never quit. And by the year of 2022, she was working 3 jobs just to make ends meet in order to take care of her children. On May 23rd of 2021, the family would experience their first hardship. It would be this year that the girls would lose their grandmother. And losing their grandmother made this rural area seem that much smaller. July 29th, 2022. As normal, the girl's mother would be off working, trying to provide a living for her children, and on that day, they would be in the care of their cousin, a 32-year-old guy who goes by the name of Paris Props. Around 9 p.m. on that night, Paris would report all 3 girls missing. When first responders showed up to the home, they would find the other 3 siblings inside. And that's the first red flag because 3 are missing, while 3 are inside of the home. After being reported missing and the Texas Rangers show up, they would begin to search the immediate area. After canvassing the area, the girls were nowhere to be found. Shortly after being reported missing, around 1 a.m., the Texas Rangers would discover a shoe outside of a pond. This pond is about 200 yards away from where the girls lived. Upon finding this shoe, the investigators would now have to receive permission or have enough probable cause in order to search this pond. So they take that shoe to the mother, in which she would identify that that shoe belonged to one of her daughters. With enough probable cause, around 2 a.m., a dive team would be called in order to search this pond. Upon entering the pond, the divers would discover more articles of clothing. And upon further investigation, they would discover the body of 3 young girls. Recovered from the water would be 9-year-old ZI'ARIEL, 8-year-old Amaya, and 5-year-old Tamari. The police would then deliver the heartbreaking news to the mother that the daughters were found. Upon recovering the girls, the police would immediately treat this as a drowning, but they would still wait on pending autopsy results for the final conclusion.
The bodies of 3 young children are recovered in Cass County. The sisters, ages 5, 8, and 9, were reported missing last night, Game wardens with the Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife led the search around the property off State Highway 77. A shoe belonging to one of the girls was found near a pond, along with footprints in the mud near the water's edge. Dive teams recovered the bodies around 1 a.m. Investigators say this tragedy has rocked the small community.
It's just like any rural community. Everybody knows everybody, so they're a close-knit community, and so she does have the support there. But I mean, there was lots of people out searching for these girls yesterday.
The investigation has been turned over to the Texas Rangers with the Department of Public Safety.
When the news spread through Atlanta, Texas that the 3 young girls were tragically taken, the city would mourn the loss. And by August 13th of 2022, the beautiful girls would be laid to rest. People drowning in America almost occurs on a daily basis, and those chances increase whenever children live next to a body of water. But in this case, that wasn't what happened, because the autopsy would reveal shocking clues. The autopsy would conclude that the girls died due to strangulation, as well as having lacerations on their face. And when the family hears what actually happened, it's devastating news. What was thought to be an accidental drowning would officially be ruled a homicide. Anytime you have a situation like this, the first thing to do would be to circle back to the babysitter, Paris Props, the guy who was in charge of watching the girls. But when they go to question him more about the circumstance, he declines to talk. The police report states that he was advised by his mother not to talk to law enforcement. But to add insult to injury, Paris wasn't talking to the mother of the 3 girls either. And with him being the last ones to see the girls alive, this makes the investigation that much harder. Without any leads and the guy who was watching them not cooperating, the first thing that the Texas Rangers should have done was turn to the media in hopes to find new evidence. But they didn't do that. In fact, it would take them a full 8 months before they would even release to the media that this wasn't an accidental drowning. On Thursday, March 23rd of 2023, they would officially release a statement. But along with this statement, they would also reveal that they had 0 suspects, 0 leads, and that they were in the complete dark about what happened. The authorities said that they sent off a few items for DNA testing, but aside from that, nothing has been done. And with the babysitter not cooperating, this case is at a standstill.
A case of 3 children reported missing, then later found dead nearly 8 months later after their bodies were pulled from a Cass County pond. The DA there says the case is now a homicide investigation.
We have come here to Cass County today, angry as hell. We are hurting with this mother and her family because we don't understand how 3 beautiful little black girls could be murdered in this county, and yet the lead investigative agencies did not even know it was a murder. They looked at it as an accidental drowning. A killer is on the loose in Cass County, and we don't understand why the investigative agencies in this case have not demanded that the FBI get involved, take over this investigation, and bring justice to this mother, bring justice to this county, bring justice to this community, because obviously the Bonnie Fife investigators, the mom and pop investigative agencies, did not do the correct job where they could even recognize what killed these 3 young, beautiful girls. Now, almost 1 year later, no answers. Almost 1 year later, she still has no conclusion, no closure. Almost 1 year later, you've given a child killer free rein to run loose in this county and perhaps harm other children.
For those that might not be aware of the case or what happened, can you tell us a little bit about what happened to these 3
We are still learning ourselves. We're still learning like the rest of the nation is learning. All we do know is that 3 beautiful babies were found in a pond. There was an assumed drowning because of a sham investigation, a lazy investigation by investigators. who obviously didn't have the resources, the training that was necessary to properly address and investigate a crime scene. And now we find out almost a year later, like this mother and everybody else, this is homicide.
There were recent findings with the autopsy that say that it wasn't a drowning. Can you explain a little bit about that for those who don't know?
When that came out, we all assumed that it was an accidental drowning, but I guess back last month when they came out and said that it was a strangulation and my kids had lacerations on their face, that is true. But they don't know how they had those or how they got them, because they was in the water for so long, so it kind of destroyed most of the evidence, and their faces and all that was kind of messed up from being in the water too long.
And the sad part about it, you would think that they would have called in seasoned investigators immediately to investigate this case. And they didn't do that. And so they lost tremendous valuable time in looking for the perpetrators or perpetrator. I'm saying to Cass County, lock your doors at night. Lock your windows at night. I'm saying to the residents and parents of Cass County, protect your babies because a killer is on the loose.
When it comes to the autopsy of the 3 girls, the lacerations on the face can easily be equated to marine life or maybe rocks that were at the bottom of the surface. The case of ZI'ARIEL, Amaya, and Tamari is unbelievable. But what's even more unbelievable is that this case was brought to me by my subscribers. This is a case that truly should have been in the media eye and everywhere, but I haven't heard this story on any news station. Now, I don't know if that equates to maybe the locals are just trying not to blow this situation up, because in all honesty, they have nothing and they know nothing. And without the babysitter talking, there's not much they can do. Now, regardless of whether or not he actually took place in what happened to those girls, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you were the last one to see them alive. So whatever is in the back of your mind or whatever you're holding from police is what's keeping them from investigating this case further. In the beginning of this story, I mentioned the 5 words: when, what, why, where, and how. And in this circumstance, a couple of those questions are unanswered, but it won't be hard to get to the truth. Now, in this case, I'm not going to blame the authorities, because in all honesty, the person who is responsible for more information not coming out is the babysitter. The authorities can do no more than what they have the authority to do. And if this guy is the last person to actually talk to those girls and see those girls alive, and he's not cooperating, they basically have 0 evidence to go off of. Now, I made mention that they did send out some items for DNA testing, but they did that a while ago, and no new news has come out, so I'm guessing that either that DNA couldn't be recovered, or whoever it belongs to just isn't in their database. If you have any information about this case, you are encouraged to come forward. Anything. That could be the smallest detail. No small detail in a case like this is irrelevant. The best way that you can help support this case is to share this story and share it everywhere. That way we can spread the word, because without it, these girls become no more than another statistic. And that's a fate that they don't deserve. They truly deserve justice. Rest in peace, ZI'ARIEL, Amaya, and Tamari. Thank you for being a light for others.
Come back tomorrow. You know it's not enough that I can make you laugh. Why try to borrow